Angelinos and others, welcome to the regular meeting of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee, where we are quiet when we're in the audience. Thank you. My name is Marquise Harris Dawson. I'm a council member representing the 8th District of Los Angeles, chair of this committee. Joined by Council Members Price of the 9th District, Council Member Bonin of the 11th, and Council Member Huizar of the 14th. We'll begin our meeting as we do all of them with people who have comments on multiple items. And I only have one card that fits that category, and that is from someone named Jed Perriott, who seems like he might be from the Democratic Socialist of America's LA chapter.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm Jed Perriott. I'm the co-chair of the Homeless and Housing Committee for the Democratic Socialist of America, and which we have, I'm proud to say, hundreds of members and growing across the city. We are currently engaged in an effort to monitor police sweeps in collaboration with the Los Angeles Community Action Network, and it has not been a pretty sight out there. But I wanted to highlight something that Councilmember Huizar said at the press conference on Monday in Skid Row that I found very encouraging, which was that you said containment and quarantining has failed. I could not agree more, and I think this is the approach we all need to take moving forward. You said we need to change the paradigm and think outside the box. Obviously, the dirty divide in Skid Row continues to be accentuated. You just walk from one block to another, there are people dying in the street, feces and urine, and then one block later, a fancy new restaurant full of rich white people drinking wine and looking at Instagram. It is a disturbing sight. It continues to be. But and out in the rest of the city, we are seeing quarantining efforts continue by these HOPE teams as they would like to, and at the request, I'm assuming, and a lot of the times when I talk to police officers, they do confirm this, the property owners that don't want to see the homeless, they just consider it blight. And they would rather see them not staying in parks or in open spaces, but in underpasses where they don't have to see them every day. Underpasses that are dangerous for these unhoused peoples, where pollution and colder weather and noise and the type of crime that you guys tend to always use to stereotype the homeless actually is exaggerated. And I'm here to say that I think you should consider, especially with regards to bathrooms, leaving public parks open 24/7, the bathrooms. I know that's not going to be a very popular thing with constituents, but I really think that is an idea you need to think of that as very simple and easy, and a lot of folks I talk to in the street would love to see that.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughtful contribution. Can we begin the meeting consideration of the items by reading item number 1 into the...
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 1 is a motion by Council Members Krikorian, Price, and Bonin relative to the status update of the Safe Parking Pilot Program.
Excellent.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Kelly Pizzelli from LASA, joined with Chris Calendrillo from LASA, and 2 of our colleagues from SSG Hopics. We're here to give you an update on the program so far. Safe Parking Pilot Program is in response to Homeless Strategy 6B. The program assists individuals who are living in their car and who are refusing other shelter options.
Could you pull the mic a little bit closer?
Yes.
That better? Great. So the first program started in June of this year. It's hosted at United Methodist Church in South LA, and it's run by SSG Hopics. The program, they're contracted to serve up to 15 families at one time. They offer case management, bathrooms, showers, and sack lunch. LASA designed the program and the budget with an emphasis on services to prioritize and meet our long-term goal of moving people out of homelessness and into long-term housing. In that reason, LASA budgeted 100% of the potential costs of the program, including case management staff, security, shower monitor, bathroom rental, and financial assistance for households who need things like driver's license or small repairs on their cars. We did use the Santa Barbara program to model our program after. However, there are a few differences that make our program more costly. The case manager to participant ratio. Our ratio is much smaller than Santa Barbara. On-site security. The Santa Barbara program was able to run their program with very little security. The lot that we have, as well as our insurance requirements, do require that we have security on site at all times. We have restroom and showers on our site. We offer financial assistance for, like I said, vehicle-related repairs. And we do have a lot rental fee. Santa Barbara did have access to public and private lots that did not charge a fee. The lot that we have so far does charge a fee. So these program differences result in a higher cost per car rate. Santa Barbara runs at about $7 per car per night, based on the information I have, and our program right now is $50 per car per night. The program has spent approximately 26% of the budget so far, so there are opportunities for program savings as we're learning from the program and doing this for the first time. We're excited that this program has been an innovative way to serve families that have been refusing shelter. It's demonstrated to be a front door for families. 7 households in the program did a CES survey for the first time, so it's really families accessing the coordinated entry service system for the first time. And then 5 so far have chosen to move from the safe parking program into a crisis housing program. We haven't seen any permanent housing placements yet, but we have a lot of promising connections that have already been made. And we're here for any questions, and SSG is here for any questions about the program as well.
Any comments from SSG before we go to members?
That pretty much summed up the entire update, yeah.
Okay. Members? Mr. Huizar, Mr. Bonin, Mr. Price?
Thank you for the report. I know that there have been some challenges getting this effort off the ground, but I'm convinced we got to stick with it. Not just because it's in my district, but because I think it's the right thing to do, and we're learning as we go along. And I saw that this focus is for families, or could an individual take advantage of the safe parking? And how are we recruiting, or folks just sort of signing up? I know that was an issue at one time. So how are we addressing that kind of marketing issue associated with letting folks know that the service is available?
So the program is specifically for families, adults with minors under 18 years of age. So it's not, we don't have a safe parking program for adults themselves yet. Wink, wink. In terms of outreach, our E6 outreach teams and our outreach coordinators have been assisting in some capacity with doing distribution of flyering, meeting some of the homeless families where there are, and directly referring over. Many of the families actually walk in. We get referrals through our partners, 211, LASA, and so on. And so that's how we're getting the direct referrals and doing some of the outreach component.
And just to add a little bit to that, the reason why we're serving families specifically is because of where the lot is located. It's in proximity to a school, things like that. So we were really thoughtful about why we chose that particular population. And then keep in mind that we're also the lead agency for the coordinated entry system for families. And so that's one of our referral sources as well. Yeah.
And how many families can we accommodate at that site?
We can accommodate 15 families at a time.
And we're up to now, how many?
We serviced 24 families total.
Well, how many are there now, for example?
Currently, there's 8 families there.
Okay.
All
right. Well, thank you for the efforts. It's an exciting program. I think we got to
Thank you so much, Mr. Price. Mr. Bonin?
just continue to provide those services. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Price, for getting this going. Thank you for both LASA and the provider for being here and for making the space available and for doing this. I'm glad to see this going. As a lot of folks know, I've been trying to get safe parking going in Los Angeles since
The beginning.
before everybody sitting up here was on the city council, back when Bill Rosendahl, right before you came in. And it's glad to see it happening. And I'm glad that you based it on the Santa Barbara model, which is the model I had seen, which was successful. Thrown for a loop a little bit by the differential in cost, and I appreciate the factors you named. I want to drill down on it a bit because at a cost of $50 per car, it'll be difficult to scale this up citywide. We just sold a piece of property in my district, and it'll help fund a lot of safe parking, but it won't go very far if it's $50 per car. How does that compare with the cost of a motel voucher?
So right now, motel vouchers pretty much run between $85 and $95 a night.
Mm-hmm. And how much does it cost? What is our per bed cost for the emergency winter shelter? Do you know? Anybody?
The emergency winter shelter, the winter shelter specifically is $23 per night.
Mm-hmm.
But the winter shelter doesn't serve families.
Right.
Specifically.
And the year round?
The year round.
So the crisis housing program for families within our service planning area, the base rate is $60 a night.
And for singles is $40 a night.
Okay. All right. So there's not a big difference in cost between parking in your vehicle in the parking lot and actually being in crisis housing. Okay. So I just want to, every site is different. In Santa Barbara, they didn't have the security requirement, and that helped them keep costs low. In fact, as I recall, in Santa Barbara, there were some businesses that opted in because the people in the vehicles became security. Some of the businesses said, oh, this is great, we'll have someone on site at night. Was the requirement for security done as a condition of using the property, or was it something that LASA suggested, or how did that requirement come about?
I know that the church required it, and also the insurance for the program is under SSG Hopix insurance, and their insurance program also required it.
So if we were to do safe parking, other pilots in other parts of the city, we wouldn't necessarily have that requirement, correct?
Correct. Yep.
I mean, I guess the consideration is just we're dealing with families, particularly with children, and the safety concern depending on the areas that they're in.
Yes.
And making, just coming from the client-centered perspective, that would just be my only kind of point to raise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just trying to drill down on whether or not it's a requirement. I mean, I'll be frank about it. There are times when the participants may want security and feel like it's there for their security, and then there are times when the demand for security may come from neighbors who are projecting a fear of a criminal element upon the participants in the program, which is unfair. So I think it differs by lot, by participants, and all that. And I just wanted to see what the possibility was of doing it differently in other places. We also have an opportunity from LASA to do this in places where there's not a cost for using the lot, right? Okay. And I'm curious how the service provision works here. In Santa Barbara, they've had a service agency. I think it's changed since I was last there, that does case management and does everything I think that you do. And I'm enormously grateful that you do it. To what extent does the lead agency in the SPA play in the provision of services?
So we are the lead agency in the SPA, and so we leverage a lot of our existing services that we have, that we operate from our collaborative partners and also ourselves. We operate in a number of different service domains, not only homeless and housing services, but substance use, mental health, trauma. We're one of 3 trauma resource centers in Southern California, and then we have a multitude of collaborative partners. So we leverage all of those services. Specific to the FSC, the additional financial assistance in terms of permanent housing, rapid rehousing resources, and the other financial resources that come underneath that particular program, we are able to leverage that as well. Plus our outreach, our multidisciplinary outreach teams, there's a number of different services that come with that.
So, thank you. That tells me how this is working. I'm trying to get a sense of how it might work elsewhere. If we were going to, because I'm in a different SPA, if we were going to do this in SPA 5, how much of the money we may have allocated do I need to come up with to have somebody manage a program versus how much can I say to the lead agency in SPA 5, you're in charge of servicing folks in this district. I can now tell you where 20 people are going to be at night that are easier to find. Go do your work without having to provide the additional funds. I think that's more of a LASA question.
It's going to be different by agency. It's going to be a conversation with the agency to see how they can serve this. It's a conversation that we had a year ago, and there wasn't the capacity. We knew in going into this that Measure H was going to bring additional capacity with navigation and outreach and other services in the spas, and that would increase the ability for agencies for the lead agencies to serve these programs. We haven't tried that yet, so that's why I said it will be a conversation to see how we add that responsibility onto what they're currently doing.
Right. Because I think where we need to get, because we have a need to scale this up a lot, and this may be exactly the model in some cases, and then there may be different models that work elsewhere. It's a big city. I don't think we have to have the same model everywhere. And so I'd like to see us get to having different pilots and different models that we can compare and contrast, and different folks can evaluate what works best, what doesn't. We're still new at
You said
this.
something similar about the security, in that each site will be different based on its needs. The security wasn't a LASA-imposed requirement, and we're happy to work with what works for each lot in each space and configure it that way.
Because one of the other early proponents of this is the CD5, not CD11, the congregation at Leo Beck Temple. Scott Sale is here. I believe he has a public comment card, and he'll testify in a bit. But they're willing to use their lot. Scott has been reaching out and has a number of different churches on the west side or temples that might be interested in participating. What do we need to do to allow a pilot like that to get off the ground?
To allow it to get off the ground? It has the opportunity to do that currently. There's not, and specifically with that site, SD3 and Supervisor District 3 from the county provided some funding from their discretionary funds for that site to operate. So we're moving forward with them to try and make that happen.
And who is but they're not providing direct services there. That's reliant upon the lead agency in the SPA to provide services, right?
I honestly don't know that.
I can answer that. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, they are operating a different model, just like you're saying. They'll be managing the lot, doing some intake, and relying on the lead agency to provide services. So because both of those programs will be overseen by LASA, we have a good perspective to watch both of them and learn from each pilot.
Okay.
Each alternative model, I should say.
Okay, because early next year, I'd like to see a few of the Leo Beck model operating in my district, and I just want to, we can do a motion after first of the year when we come back. I want to be able to augment what Supervisor Kuehl is doing so we can try it and so we can sort of contrast. We've got a tremendous need where we are, and we're just sort of pushing the problem around, as you know. And if I were to open something at a church in the 11th district, we'd have a waiting list, a long one. So I want to see us get moving. So thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for the feedback. Scott will come up and testify about what they're doing, and then we can follow up and get moving on some stuff in CD11 after the first of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. I actually intend to call Scott Sales to the desk to speak to us. So while he's coming, I had a question about the makeup of the 24 families, and it's related to security, but it's not security exactly. How much of that was domestic violence? How much of that was related to domestic violence, or folks were domestic violence victims?
2 families.
2 out of 24? Okay, so I thought it would be much higher than that. And I can imagine that's an example of folks where they would feel comforted by having security there the entire time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sales?
Would it be okay if Emily Tantrum from our organization also came up? She has a few things to say with regard to what we're all talking about.
Only if she's really eloquent. No, I'm kidding. Yes, obviously.
Thank you. So even though ladies normally go first, I'll go first. And then Emily will chime in that will, I think, also add some useful information in terms of all of us working together, which is really the goal. So I have some prepared marks, and hopefully they're well received. So good afternoon, honorable council members. I'm here today to beseech your help. My name is Dr. Scott Sale. I'm one of the advocates and founders of Safe Parking LA that started over 6 years ago at Leo Beck Temple. Our 501c3 now mission is to be as supportive as possible on the initiation of safe parking lot programs in every council district possible. We have worked toward a citywide safe parking program as there are people experiencing vehicular homelessness, and it's only getting worse. The Green Streets program, as endorsed by this committee, was reasonable in the beginning, but so many of the identified streets have been taken away by local restrictions. Our group has promoted the Green Streets throughout the city, but theoretically that program expires, as you all know, July 2018. And what are we going to do? Are we going to make it a crime to sleep in your car anywhere in the city, even on green streets? Safe parking lots were supposed to be the answer, but as of this moment, there's only the one program that we heard about, and it's way too expensive. We've been out in every district trying to find parking lot partners, private and faith-based. In only one city council district have we been working on a city-owned lot that is being seriously addressed as a safe parking site. But we have 10 other faith-based organizations that are actively pursuing being safe parking partners, but none of them have crossed the finish line. So here's my message. You are going to be wrestling with 8502 come this June, and either make it a crime to sleep in your vehicle anywhere or step up your outreach and implore lot owners, in particular those 10 that we are working with, to help. Those 10 lots could handle, if organized properly, per our model, and Emily will touch on that in just a minute, 400 vehicles, which would be a great start and set the precedent and template for others to join. We need you to tell those lot owners that you need their help. Tell them that there is money, and there is money. Tell them that Safe Parking LA will provide insurance, security, sanitation, and wraparound case management as per the earlier discussion. Tell them that with safe parking lot programs, the work of LAFD and LAPD are reduced. Tell them in Santa Barbara and San Diego, where safe parking has been in existence for over 10 years, San Diego as well, that safe parking patrons have never vandalized one or any of the 31 lots, public or private, never. That's over 200 cars per night for 365 nights for over 10 years. Why would a person living in a vehicle want to lose their nighttime parking privileges by causing a problem? People living in vehicles are way more higher functioning than the group of people having to live in tents or on the street suffering with substance abuse and emotional dysfunction. You cannot maintain a driver's license or car registration or car insurance if you don't think straight. The 10,000 people who are the targets of safe parking must go through our screening application or whomever application and interview before they're given a permit and a placard to park on that lot. Otherwise, they can't park there. You, this committee, you, the city council, you, the mayor, must implore your faith leaders who have a plethora of parking to let us use their lots at night. We need your help. We can't cross that finish line without you. We've told them everything. We promise these lot owners we will return their lot just the way we found it at 6 in the morning. Tell those faith leaders to say yes and hold them to it. Tell them the city attorney's office will help. Tell them this is a winnable, marketable solution for the city. Safe parking does not have to break the bank, and it's a way more efficient way to manage people experiencing homelessness who want to be housed. Safe parking.
Mr. Sale?
Yes.
We're sold.
You're tight. Emily, please
Thank
share
you.
a few other things. These are important. Sorry.
I do have a speaker card, so I'll just speak a little bit out of turn here. So because we use a really grassroots model, one of the things that we are able to do is work directly with the service providers in that spa. Dr. Sale and I have been on Midtown Homeless Coalition for enough years. We know how to do that. We know how to call up the people we already know and say, are you for this, and will you help out? And overwhelmingly, the answer is yes, because they know where they can find the people that they're working with, because they know where they are every night. So they change their schedules a little bit. We figure out a weekly schedule, work around that. Insurance, we hold the insurance by Safe Parking LA. That is not something that a lot has to be concerned about. We can also work out a security issue, but as you well know from Santa Barbara and San Diego, security is not actually a cost we have to incur, though we'll do it for the first couple months. San Diego also has families with children in their lots without having that additional security, and we can get the cost down to about $3 per car per night. So that's how we can do it on a grassroots local level.
Excellent. Thank you. We have some additional speaker cards. I have Alfred Beltran and Sarah, Miss Sarah Bador.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Sarah Bador. I'm a faith rooted organizer with CLUE, which stands for Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, for those of you who don't know. And my job is to bring together faith leaders of all religious backgrounds to do economic justice work. So what I really do and have been doing for the last year and a half is working in relationship with different lay leaders, different clergy leaders, and bringing them onto campaigns. And I just started working on safe parking a couple months ago, and I found that our faith leaders are very interested. Every single person I've talked to on our committees in LAX area, in Inglewood, Westchester, also in West LA and in downtown LA are very interested and passionate about this program, but they lack the motivation and, as Scott was saying, the follow through. So kind of just to reiterate his words, that we really could use your help in creating that motivation or that incentive for our faith communities to get involved, whether that might be recognition or funding, but there is that lack of that final step and final push. So thank you.
So, so now 3 different people have now said this. Are you all asserting that there aren't enough churches that are interested in safe parking?
I believe that most churches that we talk to, that I've talked to, are interested in the program. They're just not interested in making that final move towards it because they kind of get a little bit hesitant last minute due to fear or funding. So that's more of where it is. And then I also think there's not a large amount of education among local congregations.
Got it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Alfred Beltran, and I am the homeless. I am in the car. And I work with several different programs trying to help out, giving out food, with Safe Parking LA as well. Thank you to Sheila. Thank you, or Lhasa, I mean. I think this is very important. And we do need your support, without a doubt. I think they're covering a lot of different areas as far as making it comfortable for the homeless, the owner, and for the organization and everybody in the neighborhood. I think it's, from what I've done so far, working with them, it's a great, great program. We need it out there, especially with whatever's coming up in July. I can't remember what it's called. It's going to be a big concern. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to park? Me personally, I'm not a drug user. I'm not an alcoholic. I look for work every day, work with several different programs. I just want to sleep at night. Just a month ago, I heard a gunshot just a few feet away. Somebody got killed. And luckily, I was in my van. I wasn't in in the line of fire, but somebody got killed just a few feet away. And stuff like that, that this place is going to give us that peace of mind. All of us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions or comments on this matter, Mr. Bonin?
Just one. If CLU could work with me, I would like to try to convene a meeting open to any faith leader on the west side. Let's do it in mid-January. Get them in, let's explain this, let them know this does have the blessing of the city, the backing of the city. We can get Supervisor Kuehl's office to come and explain their partial funding, and let's pitch it.
Thank you. We'll note and file this matter. Item number 2.
Good afternoon, council members.
Hold on. He's got to.
Yeah.
We have to be official. He has to read it into the record.
Item number 2 is a Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority report relative to the list of pickup locations associated with the winter shelter program.
Good afternoon, council members. Paul Duncan with LASA. So this is a follow-up to last meeting with the request for the pickup locations within the city. Included in the memo was also the county pickup locations, the access centers as well. And at the end of the memo identifying the pickup locations, we'd also included for your information our intent that last year we did extend this program. We did it based on cost savings. With startup of agencies, we do cost reimbursement. The county has extended through March 31st. Our intent is with sites that are able to and have the blessing of that council district that we'd also extend within the city through March 31st as much as possible based on cost savings. In January, we'd have a good sense of if there is need for any additional funding that would be able to do that, we'd come back requesting and letting you know what it would take if we were to extend to March 31st. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions, members? Mr. Bonin?
Thank you for the report. Happy to see this extended through the end of March. Glad to see that it's a proactive request. For years, it was a battle to try to get it extended, so this is huge progress. I have a problem with the list of pickup locations, though. This is a constant refrain of mine. The only emergency winter shelter in SPA 5 is West LA First to Serve at the Armory, yes?
Correct.
SPA 5 extends as far east as Hollywood, right?
Right on the cusp of Hollywood.
So and no walk-ins allowed. So right now to access the emergency winter shelter in SPA 5, someone in Hollywood or in Mr. Koretz's district needs to go to either Malibu or to Venice Beach in order to go back to West LA. That's a huge problem for me, and it has been for years. 10 years ago, there were lots of stops. And then 6 or 7 years ago, Santa Monica pulled out and said, we're not going to have a stop here. So while I'm trying to get bathrooms in Venice and while I'm trying to get permanent supportive housing in Venice, the biggest pushback I get is you're trying to make Venice a magnet for homelessness. And I say, no, I'm not. And then they look at this, and you're literally telling people from all over the west side, come to Venice if you're homeless, because it's the only way you'll get a place to stay tonight. So last year, after I did a cruise, Jeff, and banged my shoe on the table for a while, eventually they opened up a stop in CD5. Where are we on opening one in CD5?
I can follow up. I'd have to have a conversation with our crisis housing coordinator who oversees winter shelter. I do not have an answer on a pickup location on that, but we can follow up with your office and look at.
Please,
what
and if you could get back to me before the end of the week.
Okay.
I've been asking about this. This is not my first request. I've been asking about this for 6 months. The other question is, what about Santa Monica? There's a different city manager than there was when Santa Monica decided not to have a pickup location. Most of the city council is new. For a couple of years, folks just stopped asking Santa Monica. My suspicion is nobody asked Santa Monica this year, and I'd also like to know if we have asked this year.
I can follow up and see if we've asked, and if we haven't, open dialogue with Santa Monica to see if there's willingness to open a pickup site there and engage in dialogue with them.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Just no further questions from me. It's just if somebody can perhaps come up to this room and respond to staff on these questions. It's a little bit troubling because these exact questions were asked a month ago in committee. So we need to get answers as soon as we can, particularly because the winter shelter program is happening. So if you start off a program like this without a stop, we need to know that and get in front of it very, very quickly. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for noting I asked last month.
Yes, I pay attention to you, Mr. Bonin. So I've got no speaker cards on this matter. Colleagues, Mr. Weezer, Mr. Price, anything on this? All right. So I have here that we will approve LASA's recommendation to extend the winter shelter program for 30 days to March 31st, 2018, with the exception of Hope of the Valley, and instruct LASA to report to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee if additional funding is needed. And I would add to that a report back within the next 5 business days on the transportation arrangement for said program. Item number 3. Oh, that's been moved.
Yes.
Do we need a second?
Second.
Second. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order.
Okay, sir.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a CEO report relative to the scope of the hepatitis A outbreak as it relates to the access to restroom facilities made available for both the homeless population and the general public.
Good afternoon, Yolanda Chavez with the CEO's office. Meg Barkley, our city homeless coordinator, had an emergency this afternoon, so I would do my best to cover for her. The report before you outlines or responds to a motion requesting options for the city to expand public bathroom access for homeless individuals in response to the hepatitis A crisis in the county. One of the things that we did, or how we started in terms of being able to respond to options, was that we first looked at what the city is already investing in and current efforts to expand public bathroom use. So that discussion starts on page 3 of the report. So one, of course, is the funding that we provide to LASA to contract with private bathrooms and showers to make those available to the Skid Row population, and it's funded by Healthy Street. There is a gap in this program for this year, so I'll come back to that when we outline the recommendations that we're, or the options for recommendations that we're proposing. Of course, the other thing that opened recently, and many of you were involved in making that happen, was the new Skid Row refresh spot that officially opened on Monday. Once fully implemented, it will provide 24 access to bathrooms and public toilets in the Skid Row area. There are also some other initiatives that are funded and are expected to be completed in early or mid-2018. One of them, and again, this is in the Skid Row area, one is a new bathroom at Gladys Street Park. The Department of Recreation and Parks has funding for in this fiscal year. The other is the County of Los Angeles. They will be developing a drop-in center on San Julian that will provide bathrooms and showers, and that's expected to open in the summer of 2018. The other major initiatives, of course, RAP is still working on opening the Venice RAP facility. Once approved by council, they will then move forward to request a permit from the Coastal Commission and conduct CEQA. The other is Pueblo is working very hard to finish construction by 2018 to expand access to their public bathrooms and actually enhancements with several public toilets and washing stations. And then, of course, as I think you all know, this year we provided $1.1 million in general fund to RAP to be able to target 55 restrooms and park facilities for expanded maintenance and cleaning because of the high use due to the homeless population. So as we developed the options on expanding bathroom use, we looked at some data, and the first piece of data that we looked at was a report released by the Department of Public Health, County Department of Public Health. They basically did an extensive survey of the county, including the city, to see where the need for public bathrooms is in response to the hepatitis A outbreak. And so we looked at that data, and with LASA's help, we overlaid that data with encampment information that LASA has. And so some of the recommendations we're making in terms of the high priority areas in the city where there's a bathroom or washing station deficit is based on that data. The other thing we did, we had very extensive discussions with the city of San Francisco per the direction of the motion on their mobile pit stop program. And looked at various other options which are outlined in attachment 2 of the report. So based on all of this, all the information we received, I want to go through some of the recommendations or the options for you to choose from in terms of what we would recommend. The first option in terms of the recommendations is to be able to provide LASA the gap that they need to make the Healthy Street program bathroom whole for the rest of this fiscal year. They have a gap of a little under $300,000 to make that work. And part of the issue is that they've asked these private entities that are providing bathrooms and showers to be able to enhance the program by ensuring that there's supervision, that the bathrooms are clean after every use. So that's a priority recommendation because the program is ongoing and we should make that whole for the...
How many restrooms are we talking about?
So we're talking about 31 toilets and 18 showers. And 16 of those are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. For option 2, this is based on a discussion we had with the city of San Francisco. One of the things that they added to their program was they added bathroom attendants, and they've been doing this for a couple of years, I think 3 years at this point. And one of the things they found with their automatic public toilets was that in areas where there were high homeless populations, they were being underused because there was really no one there ensuring that people were using those toilets as they're intended to be used, and there was really no one there to ensure they were also clean after every use. So when they added the attendants to these toilets, they saw the usage increase by 100%. So one of the things we're proposing in option 2 is that we institute a pilot to test that. There are 3 public toilets, automatic public toilets, where the contractor knows they're underutilized. 2 are in the Skid Row area, 1 is in Hollywood. And we would, if the committee chose to move forward with this recommendation, it would cost a little over $200,000 per site, or about $639, $356 annually for 3 sites to run a pilot. Option 3 is to implement the mobile pit stop program like the city of San Francisco.
I'm sorry, for the 3 sites and the $600,000, that's for the,
That's for the attendance, because we have the toilets, they're the automatic public toilets. So the toilets are there. It would just ensure, again, that we increase the usage, that people feel that it's safe to go to those toilets to use them.
sure, no, I understand the importance of attendance. How many people are we talking about?
So we're talking about 12 hours a day, so I think it would be 2 shifts. And let me confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
So the mobile pit stop program, we outlined based on, again, on the county data and the information from LASA on the encampments. You will see on page 8 of the report where we listed, once we overlaid that data, we were able to see the 6 high priority areas in the city where there's a toilet or hand washing deficit. And so if the committee chose to run a pilot, such as the mobile pit stop program, we're recommending the 4 priority areas, but it could be 2, it could be 1. If you did that, and again, the priority areas are based on the boundaries that the county studied, because that's where there are encampments within a half a mile, but no public toilet accessibility. So that's what that's based on. And the way the program works is that actually the toilets and washing stations would be dropped off in the morning and picked up at night. So it would be it's a 12-hour program with attendance, and again, 12 hours a day, and picked up at night. So there's no issue with security at night. The bathrooms would be cleaned, waste disposed of, and then again delivered in the morning. If we set these facilities in the public right-of-way, there's no issue with permits, and we have the right to do that. So it's very easy to do. And again, great success in the city of San Francisco with this type of program. Based on the sites that would be selected, and what you could see in the report is the areas with higher toilet and hand washing deficits, we added, of course, more toilets and hand washing stations. But on average, it's a little over, we would just say the cost per site varies depending on the deficit, toilet and hand washing deficit. But if you wanted to do the 4 top priority areas annually, the cost would be about a little over $2 million for 4 of those. And finally, our option 4 is a recommendation not so much based on data, but based on a conversation with the Department of Recreation and Parks. Because we did ask that question, as you'll see by attachment 4, could you open RAP facilities 24 hours a day in areas with high need? And of course, there's the issue of having to go through an ordinance and CEQA, and that takes some time, as we have seen from the Venice bathroom. So their recommendation was that instead the city buy bathroom and shower trailers and then be able to place them in either park facilities with high need or other public facilities where close to encampments where they could be used. And the benefit of that, the city would own these trailers, and so after the initial cost of buying them, depending on how many the committee or the council would want to buy, it's really about the operating after that. So the cost is reduced with the operating. So that is our final recommendation in terms of options.
And
you asked?
I'm sorry, Ms. Chavez, so you're suggesting that buying a mobile bathroom and shower is cheaper than opening one that we already own in a park?
No, well, it's not, but it's just the time period that it would take for the ordinance to develop and CEQA. And so because of that, RAP actually have been thinking about the same issue, and this is really their proposal, that this may be a better solution, and not only could they be used at park facilities, but other public facilities where they're close to encampments. You asked about funding, and unfortunately, the only funding available at this point is the fiscal year 16-17 savings from LASA, and that part of the reprogramming is on your special agenda, which is reprogramming about $1.5 million. But our understanding, there's an additional $4 million in savings that could be used for this purpose. that HSID is confirming that those are the savings, but LASA is very sure that that's what is would be left over in savings after you reprogram the 1.5 million in your item in the special agenda. So if you chose to do one or any of these pilots or recommendations, we would ask you to give us the authority to start the process by having HSIT reprogram the funds. General Services already has a contract with portable bath toilets and washing stations that they could easily amend to have them picked up and delivered. So we could do this fairly quickly. And Public Works would be willing to piggyback on the contract with San Francisco on the bathroom attendants if you chose to go that route. And so that could be very easily done. And of course, our city homeless coordinator would work with LASA and the coordinate entry system to discuss how outreach could be done at any of these sites if we choose to move forward with any of those. So with that, I'm available for your questions.
So I'll begin, colleagues, with a few questions on this. So on these attendants, who are they employed by? What are their qualifications, and what's their actual function?
Sure. So it's a very interesting program because not only do they provide the service as bathroom attendants, but the city of San Francisco also uses the program really as an employment, it's a re-entry program for people that are on parole. And they work with an organization called Hunters Point Family. It's a nonprofit that trains the people in the program. All of these people who are parolees were in prison, some for up to 20 years. They live in halfway homes. They get drug tested. After a year, they're able to enter the apprenticeship program with the Department of Public Works of San Francisco. And in the 3 years they've been running the program, they've only had to dismiss one person. And it really wasn't for any kind of egregious action. It was just not a right fit. And so if you chose to go with this option of hiring bathroom attendants, this nonprofit would be willing to work with local organizations for referrals for this program.
And would they be able to enter people into the CES system or direct them to services, or is it not
that's what we'd have to speak to LASA about, how we could ensure that if you decide to set up pilots in different areas of the city, how we ensure that CES and outreach workers can go to these sites to do that.
Thank you. If I could, I think we have a policy that whenever we come in contact with someone in those circumstances, that we should put them in the CES system. So I think it should extend to them, and if they don't, we should work towards having them be able to put them in the CES system. Yeah.
Right. The one thing that we haven't had the discussion with LASA because we don't know what option you'd like to move forward with on whether there would be an additional cost, whether this is in the area where outreach workers are already working because the areas where there are encampments and high needs, but we would come back and report back on that issue.
Ivania Solbar with the CLA's office. What you have before you, I think that was passed out, was just something to maybe try and assist you looking at the various options that are being provided. The first recommendation A, again, it's all your options based on one-time funding, as you see for option 1, and on an annual basis what that would cost you, as well as on the 6-month basis. The only difference between option A and B before you is that for option 3, the CAO is proposing either 4 sites or 6 sites, and that would be what the change would be. Of course, each option has to be discussed, and you can need to choose them, but at least you have an idea of what the cost would be and what's available in the savings from LASA, which is approximately $4 million.
And if I could just clarify, for option 3, which the 6 top priority sites in the city are on page 8 of the report. Again, we're recommending the 4 high priorities, but if you wanted to test the program and do 2, and then we could work with the council office on where they would be sited within this geographic area, we would do that. It doesn't have to be 4, but we just gave you the 6 priority areas, so you have the option.
Colleagues, questions, comments? Mr. Price? Yeah, me too. Me too.
I got some for the.
Okay. So, Mr. Bonnet has some questions, but so there's, I have in front of me recommendation A, and it has sort of 2 options on it.
Yes.
And then I have recommendation B that has 2 options of it.
Right. Yes.
So shall we call them A1 and A2 and B1 and B2? Okay. All right. Mr. Bonnet?
Thanks. Thank you for the report. Let me just start off by saying that I am frustrated, confused, and pissed off. The good news is that I'm less frustrated, less confused, and less pissed off than when I first read the report yesterday. I'm glad we're here. I'm frustrated because it's taken us this long to get here. I mean, I put the damn motion in at the end of September. We had the HEP scare in San Diego, and I mean, this is just, it's an urgent crisis. And, you know, when we all stood on the steps of City Hall 2 years ago and said we were going to dedicate $100 million and declare a state of emergency, I talked in my comments about how in the previous year 6 people had died homeless in front of my office in Westchester. Day before yesterday, a homeless person in Venice was set on fire. His legs was set on fire. This is like a huge, urgent crisis. And 2 years later, we still can't give someone a place to wipe their butt. And I'm dumbfounded it's taking us this long. And the reason I was so frustrated by this and angry is that I put this motion in after talking about the need for bathrooms for years, and the initial recommendation, and I'm glad you're open to 6, was Venice didn't even make the first cut. It was number 6. And I appreciate that there was some county data to this. I don't put much stock in it. They seem to have done it right after a sanitation team came in and dispersed a huge encampment in Venice, which probably gave them a false sense of lack of concentration. The encampment is now all over Venice instead of in one place. It's still, look at the homeless numbers, the census, one of the biggest concentrations of homelessness in the city, outside of Mr. Weezar's district in terms of density. And I don't know what toilets they were counting, because whether you are homeless or whether you are a tourist, you cannot find a place to piss in Venice unless you are a paying customer somewhere. Every bathroom says you can't use this toilet. It's in the sign of every window, except the ones at the beach, which close early. So for me, as the maker of the motion, I have to have Venice in this. I absolutely have to. I appreciate that Manchester Square is in here, but Manchester Square is going to be a construction site for the Consolidated Rental Car Center by the time we get this up and running. So there might be a small population that might need some servicing, but really the need in Venice is great. The need in Manchester Square, there might be some ancillary need on a dwindling basis, but Venice is more important. So that's most of my rant. I have a couple questions. Why 12 hours?
On the mobile pit stop program, because I think believe is if we kept the the facilities there overnight, we would probably have to pay for security as well. So we could keep them 24 hours, and we'd also have to pay for, for them to come in and clean the toilet, right? Because this way they pick them up, they clean them, they dispose of the waste and bring them back in the morning. But it's really a cost and security issue. So if we're willing to provide security, if they're going to be there 24 hours, then we could just add that to the budget.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bonnet. What hours do you think security is needed, and then what hours do you think it's not needed?
So I guess the experience in San Francisco was that it's not, if you leave them overnight, that you would want security.
So it's during the night?
Yes,
And
it's
then
just at the night, not during the day. The attendants are not, we would not call them security, they're attendants who have been trained and based on the San Francisco experience are able to, to work with the homeless population.
And I'm just curious, so now you have two people at the bathroom, a security and an attendant.
Right.
Okay.
San Francisco's Pit Stop program, it's only 12 hours a day?
Yes.
Do you know what time of day if it's daytime or nighttime?
It's daytime for the most part.
I'm just curious because there's never been a 12-hour period in my life when I haven't had to use a bathroom.
Right.
So I'd almost be more inclined to have it at night than during the day. At least during the day, someone might be able to buy a cup of coffee at Ralph's and get to use the bathroom, or the park restrooms are still open, or they can go into the library. But at night, people have to go.
Right.
How fast could this be done?
So based on our conversation with GSD, and we would move very quickly to do this. They think they could get the contract ready in less than 2 months, amend their contract. And I feel your frustration, Mr. Mon, and I want to apologize for the delay in this report. I think we all feel the stress of trying to do something quickly, and so that's one of the reasons we're recommending that it be piggyback contracts. We talked to GSD before this because it wouldn't make any sense to come here and say we have to do an RFP, right? We know they have a contract.
Right.
It's easy to amend, and so we think we could get this going once we have the funding within 2 months.
So your recommendation B, correct me if I'm wrong, is recommendation B a hybrid that says let's do option 3 until we can do option 4?
So a little bit different. So option 4, I think it's more of the city can buy these trailers, rec and parks. Like I said, this is part of the recommendation that the city should just buy them. But they're much bigger, so it's not as easy as placing, facilities right on the right-of-way within a geographic area in your district, for example, because they're big trailers, right? So those really work for a public facility like a park or a public parking lot. But if we find a place with high need in Venice within that geographic, so the toilet facilities that we're talking about could just be placed there on the right-of-way, versus a trailer with 8 toilets. So you have 2 toilets depending on the need and washing stations. And so they're much easier to place because it's not a big trailer.
The portable is?
Yes.
Yes.
The pit stop.
Even though it's more expensive?
Yes.
Okay. So we may want to do the portable in some locations and the less portable in other locations.
Yes.
In order to save money.
Yes.
So it would sound to me as if the reasonable approach for us to take would be to some sort of hybrid of 3 and 4, which is start doing 3 right now, but explore where 4 is more efficient and cost effective. That would be my recommendation because it may save us a little bit.
What's 4?
4 is the purchasing as opposed to leasing. So my recommendation would be that we move ahead with the leasing, which is quick and continue to explore the purchasing where it might be appropriate and where there'd be cost savings. I would further recommend that we do I don't care how we do it. Move Venice up the list or do all six, whatever the committee prefers, but I got to get Venice in there, particularly since I don't think there's going to be much of a need for Manchester Square. In your recommendation B, you only ask or outline the 6 for option 3 and not for option 4.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
In your recommendation B, you say for 1C, the number of sites from 4 to 6, but you don't say that for...
So we don't say 4 to 6, we say 4 highest priority areas, but we gave you 6 options because we understand that in Westchester that may not be an option. So we wanted to give you other options because of the timing on the construction.
Right. So, but my request to the committee is that we move forward with the leasing, that we explore the purchasing, that we have a conversation with each council office about whether the 12-hour window should be daytime or nighttime, because they vary, and that however we define what the highest need area is, that Venice be part of the highest need, because it absolutely is, and I don't care what the county data says.
Mr. Price?
Okay.
No, I'd go along with that recommendation. Would just urge us to make sure we include South Park in one of those 4, because it is a real problem. But a question, so let's say we do that option. How many tourists does that buy us each, that mobile pit stop?
The pit stop program?
The suggestion that Councilman Biden just...
Right. So if you look at page 9, we, depending on the toilet deficit, some of the areas we recommend more than 1 toilet. So, for example, if we were going to keep Westchester, and again, because of the construction there with the world airports, that's going to be a challenge, but because of the deficit, we were recommending 2 restroom and sinks and 1 ADA compliant toilet. So it really depends on the area. So you see the priority 3 is in your district, it's South Park. Right. We were recommending 1 restroom with a washing station inside and 1 ADA compliant toilet as well with a hand washing station. So 2 basically, but 1 is ADA compliant.
And do we have to make sure that there's disabled access? Is that an issue?
Well, yeah, so that's why 1 of them is ADA compliant, so that one of the facilities.
Mr. Weezer?
Just a quick question on the last RFP for the service provider so they can make bathrooms accessible. Where are we with that RFP? What's the status? Do we know?
The RFP to make the bathrooms accessible?
For service providers?
Oh, you mean for the family resource centers? No, maybe, or for the hygiene center. Oh, for the hygiene center. So you mean
no,
the
there's an
on
RFP out
Crocker
for
Street.
service providers from LASA?
Oh, from LASA.
Okay.
We've received in 3 proposals, so we have actually scored those in our meeting on it. That is how we came to the number that was discussed earlier to be able to make sure that we are able to fund all of those restrooms in the Skid Row area.
Okay, and that's separate from
the ADA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so in that RFP, when will you complete it, and when do we think this could get going?
We are in the stages of wrapping it up. We plan to go to our commission for recommendations for award. What we recommend will be based off of the funding that is available. Currently, we have $770,000 a year allocated towards that. In order to be able to award the full, we would need the additional funding. We hope to be able to fund all of that. 2 of those proposals are currently operating, so they are extended through the point that we award. Our contracts are scheduled to start for those on March 1st.
And what type of facilities? Just bathrooms, or is it a hygiene showers and?
This one is specifically the Operation Healthy Streets, the restroom facilities, so those showers. It doesn't include the storage and that stuff.
No, I just think it's an obvious thing for us to do, since a lot of individuals go to service centers for all kinds of services. One should be the ability to have showers and bathrooms and everything else. So, I'd like to see the results of this eventually. We could get a report back here, because if it's a bang for our buck, since those service centers are already there, the facilities are there, it's just a matter of additions, and it's not costing us as much as creating trailers and doing a lot of other infrastructure that we don't have. Some of the infrastructure is already there, so I think we might see some real cost-effective ways on this path that we're on to probably. Some of the service providers might look at it as an additional way of getting funding to provide those types of services. They just need the funding. So this may be very cost-effective, but we try to expand this in the service centers that already exist. Okay, thank you.
To clarify, Council Member, the RFP that LASA is in the process of completing is just for facilities in the Skid Row area? Yeah.
All right, we have a few public comment cards on this item. We'll ask folks to come forward for 1 minute. Tom Grody and General Dogon.
My name is Tom Grody. I'm with the Skid Row Community Improvement Coalition and part of the toilet audit team, the No Place to Go report, which showed the disparity between the amount of toilet access in Skid Row and the minimum standards for a United Nations refugee camp. In looking at this CAO report, I remember August 2015 reading a CAO report called Storage Facilities and Other Homeless Services. And I remember reading that report and feeling great about it. Virtually none of it has happened. A month or so ago, you all agreed there was not a sense of urgency about this issue. And so I trust that this new CAO report will be laid on a foundation of urgency.
Yes, sir.
General Dogon with LA Can. No more press conference or photo ops until a real investment are made towards the problem. Our 2017 Dirty Divide update, entitled Out of Service, details a plan to achieve public health infrastructure equality immediately on Skid Row. We need more than 100 toilets today. We need more than 100 hand washing stations, which is the most cost-effective way to stop the spread of Hep A and other communicable diseases. We need over 100 showers to produce a new health standard and provide dignity and respect. I walked with the United Nations rapporteur yesterday on Skid Row, and after seeing and talking to people, he was very appalled at the way the city of Los Angeles have been treating homeless folks, particularly black folks in general. So I'm just going to end with that, say, end the dirty divide right now. Oh, and I also got 4 copies of the Dirty Divide for you guys, so that y'all can't say that you don't have a Dirty Divide.
All right, so we have a, Mr. Bonin put forward a motion that was seconded by Mr. Price.
Yeah. Yes, sir, to have a conversation with all the council offices.
Yes.
And to have a hybrid of option 3 and 4.
Yes.
That's what I have on my record.
All right. So it's been moved by Mr. Bonin and seconded by Mr. Price. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. I think we're on for the next item. Thank you all so much.
Mr. Chair, would you like to take item 5 or item 4 right now? I think item 4 is related to the special meeting later.
Yeah, we can do item 5 now.
Okay. Item number 5 is a Municipal Facilities Committee reports relative to the recommendations for disposition of the affordable housing opportunity sites. This item was also referred to the Information Technology and General Services Committee, and it's also on the council agenda for Friday.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Blair Miller. I'm with the Office of the CAO Asset Management Group.
I'm Helmi Hisarick with Housing and Community Investment Department.
We're here with a report that went to municipal facilities in October that's recommending that the City Council authorize the Housing Department to release an RFQP or RFP for 4 city-owned sites and to dispose of 2 other city-owned properties, all for use for affordable housing. Those sites are in CD 14, 15, and 9. And we can go into details on the properties or answer any questions that you might have. This is part of the Affordable Housing Opportunity Sites Initiative that was begun by the CAO's office, and the initial sites were included as part of the budget in fiscal year 2016-2017. That effort is now incorporated into HCID's Public Land Development Program, where the CAO is still responsible for analyzing city-owned sites for their potential use for affordable housing. And once those sites have been identified, we work with council offices to look at the potential projects that could go on the properties, and then the sites are handed off to HCID to go in their normal disposition process.
And I would just add that this adds 4 additional properties to what we already have now is 30 properties that we've made available for development of housing. Affordable housing, we have a very substantial land portfolio, and I think the joint work between the CAO and HCID has been very substantive and valuable contribution to the affordable housing program for the city.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Huizar.
Great, thank you. And our comprehensive homeless strategy identified this as one strategy, is to see what city-owned property may be available to build housing for homeless. So I'm very happy that we continue to move quickly. 4 of the sites here that we offered up are from Council District 14, as well as there's 1 or 2 from CD9. So we continuously look at our district to see what other properties may be available. So thank you for moving on this quickly. My question is, given now the sites that you are identifying, how do you decide which ones you put out for RFP or which ones move forward? Do you do them in a batch? Are you going to do them individually? Are they each going to run its course because they're going moving through the process at a different pace? How do you plan to do that?
So what we've been doing at HCID is actually taking the properties and making them available as quickly as we can when we get them. So when we get, for example, these 4 sites, we'll release these 4 sites as a batch.
So these will go out as a batch?
We'll go forward with all of them at one time.
Okay.
They will have a criteria for scoring that does recognize differences in each site. So they will be scored separately, not as a group, obviously, with individual differences for the site.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bonner.
I just want to thank you for this. I just wanted to counterpoint from where I was on the last item. I'm happy, content, and delighted on this one, as I am on some of the others on the agenda. And I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Huizar and thank him for putting so many properties on the block. I did 3 myself in the first batch. It's more unusual in my district. It's not at all unusual in Mr. Huizar's district, so I think it's a particular kudos for continuing to lead on this. Just curious, how many council districts now have put properties up, not just in this batch, but in the previous ones?
I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. I would say most of the council districts, certainly the large majority of council districts have made land available, either through former CRA properties or through the surplus properties. I'd also add, just for your knowledge, that the input from the council members' staff at every site has been incredibly valuable in helping us shape what we're going to RFP.
Great. It would be good to have a sort of master list of where the properties are that have been put up in which offices. I alluded earlier that folks say you're trying to put all the homeless people in Venice. I loved when this came out because I was able to say, well, actually, there's a whole bunch of other council districts that are stepping up, and this is a citywide strategy and a citywide approach, and most of the offices have skin in the game on this solution. So if we can point to that in one place.
We have that report. We can produce it immediately.
Excellent.
It doesn't take any time.
Ms. Bryce?
Yeah, I too want to just thank you for the hard work on this and the real collaborative nature of the engagement between HCID and the CAO. I know this site in the 9th District on Broadway, we brought that to the attention of staff, and it was evaluated very quickly, and I'm glad to say positively. In fact, this particular site is going to be, temporarily is going to be a farmer's market in the interim. And so it's adjacent to another nonprofit, so it's, I think, filling that need, and we think it'll be a good project. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Price and colleagues. And thank you. We have a couple of speaker cards on this item. Yvonne Autry and Alma Eterna.
Alma is outside for a minute, but if you want me to go try to get it?
If she wants to speak.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, he. Come on, we got to start the time. Start the time, please. All right, so no Miss Autry and Mr. Eterna. All right. Well, if there's no objection, the committee will concur with the recommendations in the ITGS committee report from the November 28th meeting. That'll be the order. All right, item 6.
Yes, sir. Item number 6 is a Housing and Community Investment Department report relative to the release of the Proposition HHH Permanent Supportive Housing Loan Program regulations with proposed revisions and the 2017 HHH call for projects.
All right, we have a report, Mr. Eterna. I'm going to get you at the end for general public comment because you missed the item. We already moved on from the item, so we'll come back to you at the end of the meeting. Okay. Thank you. All right, so we have a staff report on this from HCID. Going once. Item number 6.
Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, staff.
Staff. Housing and Community Investment. Mr. Rushmore Cervantes, is he in the building?
He was here.
There he is. Let's give him a big round of applause. All right, so we have some business with your department, sir.
Yes,
relative to the release of Proposition HHH Permanent Supportive Housing Loan Program.
Well, great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. We're very excited to bring this forward. We've got a very tight timeline on the HHH call for projects as well as the regulations. We are hoping to go to council on Friday so that we can actually expedite the calls. We've committed to 3 rounds per year. This is going to be a very short turnaround time on these regulations that you're going to be reviewing this afternoon, with the projects due on the 22nd of this month, and we will be bringing the recommendations for awards in the first committee in January 10th. We're going to bifurcate the recommendations for the council members because we're up against a tight timeline for projects that are looking to secure HHH funds. They're also applying for cap and trade dollars. The deadline of that is January 16th. So we're going to bifurcate those, bring those forward to you directly. All other projects that are submitted for HHH funding, they'll go through the traditional Citizens Oversight Committee review Administrative Oversight Committee, then on to this committee. So we're going to bifurcate the two. We've taken into consideration many public comments, and what you have before you here are our recommendations. And I'll turn it over to Sean Spear and Tim Elliott to go over some of those details.
I just wanted to add to Rush's statement that also, we're anticipating by virtue of a survey that we did several weeks ago, approximately 24 projects coming in, if not the first round, then the second as well. The thought is also that we're assuming that we're going to get a wide range of both traditionally funded and designed projects, as well as opportunities for innovative concepts, particularly around financing structures and around actual physical project design. So we're really encouraged by both the interest in the call for projects that we're looking to put out, as well as the potential for really some exciting projects that will come forward. So as Rush mentioned, Tim will walk you through the results of our stakeholder process and the comments that came in for the regulations, and then talk a little bit about the schedule going forward.
Okay, Tim Elliott from HSID. Following the approval of the term sheet for the HHH program in August, we published draft regulations and had a stakeholders meeting, and we received 207 comments from 17 different agencies. And based on that, we're recommending, the report is recommending changes in 6 different areas. And one more that I'll talk about that's come up more recently. Most of the comments we got were about what constitutes an eligible project. And the guidelines said that 50% of the units had to be for the homeless. 50% of those had to be for the chronically homeless. And no more than 10% of the units could have more than 1 bedroom. And there were several people that had family homeless projects that were already entitled and were moving forward. And in conversations with LASA, they assured us that they could provide a letter saying that, if they could provide enough referrals through the coordinated entry system for families to fill those units in that particular area. So that was one of the recommendations we've made in there, is that as long you can do a family project as long as we can get a letter from LASA saying that we can fill the units. Now we had considered the 50% rule, and we were going to address that in the regulations that we were going to bring forward for the next fiscal year. But I understand that there's some desire to address that at this point. So the other thing is, since we've entered into we were requiring a service plan from a provider named as part of the team, and since we've entered into an MOU with the county, that we can, if you can get a commitment letter from Health Services saying that they'll provide Measure H monies, that we'll take that in lieu of a service plan, because they have providers that are on tap and will pay for that. So, and I think that's what most people are going to do. The other thing is, we had 5 priorities that if we were ever oversubscribed, we could default to certain priorities, and one of those had to do with access to transit. And we had recommended using the state cap and trade definition of high-quality transit, and a number of commenters felt that that was unduly restrictive, because it really only focuses on rail and not the rapid bus systems. So since the Planning Department's transit-oriented communities legislation has been approved, we recommend that we adopt that, which talks about bus intersections, wherever two bus lines intersect, and there's 15-minute service at peak hours, and that actually would cover more areas, especially in the valley where there's not a lot of rapid transit. So those are the recommendations that we made in our report, and the schedule is basically what Rush talked about, that we're going to have an accelerated schedule for those projects that are seeking the cap and trade funds, and that we'll be back before you in January with those, and then back in February with the full slate of projects.
And if I may add also, if you recall, HHH funds, we sell bonds once a year. So we need to submit, that is HSID, to the CAO, CLA, and the Mayor's Office, ultimately Council, our recommendations each April. If you recall, the last time we were here, we were able to secure the financing or sale of bonds for 9 projects. So based on what we think we're going to be receiving, upwards of 20 projects, we could have a very healthy start into the new call for projects period for HHH. And keep in mind also, we're going to do 3 rounds a year. So we're going to be right back here in February, July, and then again in October. So 3 rounds per year so we can get the pipeline filled. And then, of course, each year we'll be coming back with recommendations for the policies and the regulations each July thereafter. So as we learn better ways and faster ways to get the product out, we will do so. But I also want to keep in mind that what we've designed for you was recommendations from our stakeholders that have been doing this for many years. We think we've got a good product here before you, and it will not only just produce housing, but produce the right type of housing with service providers that can truly make a difference for those homeless individuals. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent, thank you. So we have representatives from 3 council offices that I want to call up now before members of the committee put their questions forward. We have from District 4, Sarah Dussault, from District 7 and District 15. If you all could join us at the desk.
Hi, good afternoon. Sarah Dussault, Chief of Staff in Council District 4. I'm handing out a letter from the council member and then wanted to read in a suggested amendment. So essentially in Council District 4, we've been working on a project that's kind of a campus type project. It's got HHH funded TAY housing, it's got crisis housing on site, and then it also has 100 units of affordable senior housing. And it's been really challenging to figure out how to fund this innovative idea, which is a campus, it's multi-generational, it's mixed income, and do it within the constructs of the HHH regs. So the council member is making a suggestion that projects with a minimum of 25 units reserved for homeless individuals, so all the eligibility requirements stay in place, should be eligible to apply for HHH funds for those units only. So we're not taking away any of the 50% set aside, any of the path that currently exists for how HHH projects are funded, but we wanted to add a path, which is projects, and in this example, a 100-unit project could be eligible for HHH just for the 25 units that would be eligible under the regs as they are already written. Specifically, that language would read, alternatively, at minimum, 25 units in the project, excluding manager units, must be reserved for individuals and households who meet the criteria below. Eligible PSH units will be funded in accordance with Section 2.4. Only the eligible PSH units would be funded with the HHH proceeds. In addition, the council member requested an instruction to instruct HSID with the assistance of the CLA and the CAO to report within 30 days on the framework for funding innovative projects that do not meet the current requirements of Proposition HHH PSH loan program, including shared housing, projects with less than 25 units, incentives for private funding, campus-type projects, and other innovative approaches. And this includes a process and timeline for soliciting developer feedback and implementing this component of the program. Because our experience has been over the course of the last year is trying to figure out innovative projects in a high-cost market, we need more pathways. And that's the reason we're here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, honorable members. Dennis Gleason from the Office of Councilman Joe Buscaino. I am here today to offer our strong support for the amendment submitted by Council District 4. As currently proposed, the draft regulations unnecessarily restrict the use of Prop HHH funds by requiring 50% of the units to be permanent supportive housing. This means a 100-unit project with 50 permanent supportive housing units would qualify, while a 500-unit project with 200 units of permanent supportive housing would not. This would restrict the ability to build permanent supportive housing on one of our most valuable resources in prime opportunity locations, public housing developments under the control and management of the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. Council District 15 contains more HACLA developments than any other district, including 2 that are in various stages of redevelopment, Jordan Downs and Rancho San Pedro. Both of these developments are currently composed of low-density, 2-story structures spread across dozens of acres with over 1,100 housing units combined currently. Even with increasing the density, as we want to do for both projects, there is no way that 50% of the units for either of these large redevelopment projects could be reserved for permanent supportive housing without displacing current tenants, thus eliminating the ability to qualify for HHH funds, even if they each dedicated 100 units for permanent supportive housing. Another concern with the regulations as written is neighborhood opposition. Right or wrong, a development project with 50% of the units reserved for homeless housing will likely face greater opposition than a project that has a more diverse mix of permanent supportive, affordable, workforce, and market rate housing. Modifying the threshold to allow funding for projects with a minimum number of units instead of simply a percentage will incentivize larger campus-type housing development projects to include permanent supportive housing units as part of the project. Thank you, and I urge you to support the proposed amendment by Council District 4.
Good afternoon, committee members. Paula Bessiana, Planning Deputy for Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez. I would like to present 3 amendments on behalf of the Councilwoman for the record. The first amendment would be for Section 2.2.1, titled Demonstration of Site Control, to amend the language to read, an executed exclusive negotiation agreement with the public agency is acceptable at application. Prior to consideration for inclusion in HCID's funding recommendation, a fully executed disposition development agreement, DDA, with the agency will be received by HCID. The second amendment would be for Section 2.12.5, titled Supportive or Enhanced Services Plan, in regards to the letter of intent to provide services from a Los Angeles County health agency in lieu of the supportive services plan, to amend the language to include the following. The letter provided by county at minimum must include the services that will be provided to the target population, the frequency of services, and the number of caseworkers committed to the site in accordance with the ratios listed in Section 3.3. The final amendment would be for Section 3.3, titled Supportive Services Fund and Support Services Coordination and Case Management, to include the words on-site before case manager, so that it would read, the following on-site case manager to tenant ratios will be used based on the best practices of the Los Angeles County health agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll ask folks from HCID to come back up to the table, because I know there are questions here as well. And we'd ask that you address the comments made by our colleagues' representatives. Mr. Price, you got anything on this? Mr. Huizar?
Yeah, thank you. I think the last time we discussed this, the committee requested that the minimum unit requirement be removed, and it's not in the guidelines. In attachment B, it still says the greater of 25 or 50% PSH units. So we voted on that last time, but it's still in the attachments. And so I just want to clarify what exactly is the report before us. Maybe the clerk, I don't know if you, the last time we were in committee, we requested that the minimum unit requirement be removed, and I don't see it in the guidelines. The attachment B still has the greater of 25 or 50% PSH units. So,
I don't actually have a comment to that right now. I don't recall that specific instruction, but if you're referring to, as an example, what was just discussed and introduced by Council District 4.
And I was going to ask how this relates to that now.
We'll make sure that we're talking about the same.
Because I wanted to clarify what's before us.
They may be different.
Yeah, so we specifically did not put in that language.
Right, it's not, the term sheet is what was attached to the CO report that was amended at the table.
Okay.
And so the regulations don't have a minimum number.
So there's no minimum?
There's no
Okay,
minimum.
and so, but in the attachment B, it still has that language, though?
Right, that was just what was originally proposed.
Okay.
As part of the transmittal, we included the original package, so you can
I
see
got
the
it. So,
difference.
but to clarify, as far as you're concerned, you're moving forward?
Yes, we are.
With no minimum unit requirement? Okay.
That's correct.
And now, I just need a further explanation then. If we have no unit requirement, and how does that proposal by Council District 4 fit into what we're doing here now? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, primarily it creates a second option for projects. So conceivably, they could still come in at less than 25 units, with 50% of the units being homeless serving. Or they can have a minimum of 25 units, of which they would have to be permanent supportive units, with the remainder being non-HHH units.
Okay, I want to clarify. Okay. Secondly, I want to discuss section 2.6.1.1 on page 13. This says that HCID must not be owed more than $10,000 in residual receipts or other fees. But this limit applies to developers for their entire portfolio or just individual projects? Because there might be someone who has several projects, or just one, and we're applying it just the total amount, irrespective of their portfolio?
These are, is referring to payments that are in dispute, payments that haven't been made.
Okay.
So, it could be across the whole portfolio, but it could only be those that are unpaid, that we've sent out a bill and they've disputed it, which happens.
Okay.
So we wanted to have some sort of safe harbor, because some of these things can't be resolved right away. But $10,000 is a pretty significant sum to be in dispute about.
Okay. So it's across the portfolio. If you're an entity, you owe the city more than $10,000 on whatever, however we describe these, or other fees or receipts, you won't qualify. Okay. And is that, I mean, that's a reasonable way of looking at it, or should we just look at it by individual project? I mean, I'm not sure how this world works.
In the past, we had a zero tolerance policy.
In the past, we've had zero tolerance.
Right.
Okay.
And we've seen that some of these are complicated tax calculations and require explanation from accountants and so forth. And there's a fair amount of back and forth that happens in negotiating these payments. So
okay.
we realize this.
And I must add also to that, Councilman, is that the department has streamlined its process, wherein in the past it would do its due diligence review throughout the course of that project through the financing process. Instead, we're only going to do it once. So once they apply, then we check once at the very beginning, and that is it. And they'll either rectify it or they won't on a go-forward basis. So if there's issues beyond that during the course of the financing period, it doesn't matter. So that'll help expedite the process, and there's less lag time. So it'll truly fast track some of these projects.
Okay. Thank you.
Spana?
Just a couple things. One, I just want to thank you for including the units with 2 or more bedrooms. Appreciate that change. I think that's good. Helps us with homeless families. And a sort of a tangentially related question. I've heard from folks who are trying to build the permanent supportive housing on the VA property, where there's 900 units, I think, authorized by their master plan. That property is technically unincorporated Los Angeles County. Are projects there eligible for Triple H or not?
It's not in the city of Los Angeles. Last we checked, we weren't able to invest there.
Okay. Even if they set them aside for Los Angeles veterans?
I don't know that you can actually preference city of Angelinos or citizens of the city of Los Angeles as a fair housing issue, so they would have to take from the general area. I don't think they can necessarily federal.
Even if we fund it?
No, you're actually it's a violation of fair housing. Just like if you were to produce a affordable housing project in Council District 11, you can't just select individuals from CD 11. You have to do a market a marketing plan that it's throughout the region.
Given you saying that, does that mean that the Triple H monies have to house folks from Burbank or?
No, it's basically whoever's in the coordinated entry system. That's where we draw from. But as far as if you're going to invest in a unincorporated area of the city with the intent to be able to draw specifically from the city, I believe that's a fair housing. We could get back to you, but I believe that could be problematic.
Because the coordinated entry system is a county system, right?
It is a council system, but actually the county utilizes that as well, if I understand correctly.
So they can.
We would take them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You're saying we would take folks veterans from Santa Monica in a Triple H funded project in Hollywood, but we wouldn't take them in one. We wouldn't be able to make a distinction on unincorporated property.
So Yolanda Chavez with the CAO's office. So this, what LASA has committed to us, because they administer the CAS system, is that as we build units, based on the units, the type of unit, they would prioritize City of Los Angeles folks that registered as residents of the City of Los Angeles for the units, because it is a county-wide system.
Yeah, that's what Santa Monica does.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the commitment that LASA has made, that they would prioritize residents or people in the system that were registered as City of LA residents.
And that doesn't violate fair housing policy?
No. As far as we know, it doesn't. But you could not pick, specific council districts.
Right.
That would be a challenge.
Yeah. All right, that's a question we can tease out offline with attorneys.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Also, I wanted to give you all an opportunity to comment on the issues our colleagues raised just now.
Certainly, as it relates to the motion that was introduced by Councilor District 4 on the 25 minimum units, we support that. I just caution the fact that, again, we based this initial design on best practices that have been in place for some time, and going to that level of unit count, we're fine. We worked with the council office on that language, that motion. We're certainly fine with that. As it relates to the ENA versus the DDA, we worked with the council office of that language. As it relates to then the innovative language, the way the current regulations read, it's fairly clear what the innovative programs we're open to. It doesn't preclude certain types of projects, but I think that there's always demand for looking at different ways to do things, and I think that's just going to be the nature of this program throughout its existence while we try to figure out ways to house people quicker. And I just caution them when we're talking about innovation and shared housing or whatever the case may be, there's going to be pluses and minuses to that. So it's not just us as a city department telling you, well, yes or no. I think you've got to talk to the practitioners as well and hear from them as well as to what can really work and really cannot. So versus just a developer, you need to hear the practitioner on the service end and see that make sure that it works and it's successful long term. So we're more than happy to have those conversations. And I'm not certain there was any other motion.
The last one was related to the on-site case manager definition, which, on the surface, I think we wouldn't necessarily have a concern about, but we'd have to probably talk in with some stakeholders to understand.
It seems like a clarifying.
If we had an extremely small project, it might be hard to meet that on-site requirement.
Yeah.
Right.
And we discussed that before, Councilman, where I think it was either the COC or certainly this committee, I know we did, in that there could be instances where, because of the size of that property, it may not be practical to necessarily have someone on site, but you can have someone nearby, and then they're basically coordinating those services anyway. It's not like every single service that individual's receiving is there, so they're brought in. So we can work with the council office and the council on that, but there would be some concern to having on-site for every single project. It just may not be practical.
Okay, I think Mr. Weezer.
Yeah, and 25 units, was there something, not a science, but why 25? Why not 30? Why not 20?
We have a case manager to
tenant ratio, that we have to provide one case manager for every 25 units. And that's sort of what drove that minimum size.
Okay. Is CD4 still here? So you see, same reason why you chose 25?
It was in the original recommendation report of 25 or 50%, which was greater. So in order to address
Oh, so you got it from the recommendation report. Okay. And then, so the justification is, again?
Was that if you're going to have a full-time on-site case manager, the minimum size that would really work would be 25 units. And otherwise, you'd have to provide, we'd call it a scattered site model. And
So if you go down to 20, what happens so that more projects qualify?
well, it just gets more expensive per case. And at some point, if you get to a smaller amount, it's hard to justify having a full-time manager for a smaller number of units. And there'd have to be mobile teams.
Okay, and what guidelines ask one case manager per 25?
Well, that's, I think, mental health, the Department of Mental Health.
But
We had been at 1 to 15. And
Yeah.
we were urged to increase that.
Okay, so you were once at 15.
Yeah, we were once at 15, and we've raised that.
But there's no guidelines that we follow for that, right? It's nothing like, it's a recommendation by
mental health.
By mental health that it
Which,
is.
though, is presumably, funding parts of the services that are involved with the projects themselves. So we are trying to remain in alignment with their guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there are no more further comments, I know some reindeer are waiting for one of our members. So we have a number of amendments. I'd actually like to make a change on one of the amendments that I think is friendly on the case manager ratio, that would apply to the developments that are at the 25 unit number. That we limit that provision to that and move this forward with all the amendments. If there's a second. Second. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. And we need to reconsider. Item number 3 to include gap funding for LASA to finance the operation of Healthy Streets at the amount of $290,800. This is. And instruct the CLA and CLO to work with the chair of the H&P committee to complete controller's instructions prior to Friday, December 8th, City Council meeting. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. All right, we're good on that. And then I just made an error. We're going to have to vote again. We have public comment. We're going to. I was on a roll there too. Ann Sewell, Ms. Klasky Gamer, and Tommy Newman.
Good afternoon. Ann Sewell, California Community Foundation. Just don't want to keep anybody from their reindeer. Thank you to the council, to the committee, to the members, and to the staff for pushing this along. Excited to see it going forward. And excited that we can find a resolution to staying within the original intent of using HHH dollars to serve truly the most vulnerable on the street who do need integrated case management services and do need all the services that come with being in a building that is targeted to permanent supportive housing with the flexibility to have pieces of permanent supportive housing within larger buildings. And I think the amendment proposed by the council office is consistent with that and support that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Newman.
Tommy Newman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and council members. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for having great staff who are willing to work with us on a daily basis to get this right. Thank you for moving it quickly. This is a really exciting moment. So somebody should say this is a really exciting moment that we've just figured out the rules and how to spend some money and how to build some supportive housing. So thank you for all your hard work. United Way's all in, and I'm going to keep continuing to be all in to help get this done.
Excellent, thank you. One of Los Angeles Magazine's Women of the Year, Ms. Classic Gamer. You're on.
It's you.
You.
It's you.
I'm like, Tommy, you got that? Hi, Stephanie Klasky Gamer with LA Family Housing. LA Family Housing is developing hopefully with Triple H funds on two of our sites, two of the city-owned sites, one in Councilmember Price's district and one in Councilmember Rodriguez's district. And so I really wanted to come up and give public comment to appreciate the amendment coming from CD7 relative to the timing of the submission of the DDA. That really helps ensure that more projects can get into this first batch of funding, and then we can break ground on these developments in 2018. So thank you very much for passing that.
Awesome. Thank you. So now we have to reconsider item number 6. Hearing no objection to that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 6, correct?
Yes.
You know, we have the underwriting cost and pricing guidelines, and I'm reading here from them, section 3.3, and it says one full-time equivalent case manager to more than 20 units of chronically homeless, one full-time equivalent case manager to more than 20 units for homeless transition age youths, one full-time equivalent case manager to no more than 30 units of homeless with special needs, and one full-time equivalent case manager to no more than 45 units of low-income senior or other tenant populations. So there seems to be, a range, and I don't know if 25, there was nothing here about 25, so I just want to clear that up. But secondly, I think in order for us to be able to add more units to what has been proposed or more opportunities, we should revisit that. I would like to see 20, but maybe we could before Friday have a further discussion. Leave it at 25 for now, but I just want to raise that issue that it's not 25, but there's a range depending on the population. But in order for us to meet these guidelines, and secondly, be able to get more projects that qualify under this new proposal, I think we may have to. My proposal is to lower it, but I'd rather leave it up for discussion in the interim and then come up with something on Friday.
That makes sense. Thanks so much, Mr. Huizar. I think Mr. Huizar raises a good point. Depending on the population, for instance, transitional age youth, you really need one person for every 5 or 6 of them, whereas other folks, you might have different ratios. So it's hard to make a hard across-the-board cap. So I do think more discussion is in order, and perhaps we can come up with something by Friday that makes sense for everybody. So if you could help us by revisiting the motion that we considered before in our reconsideration.
For item 6, it's the intent of the committee to approve the report with the amendments mentioned by the representatives from Council Districts 4, 7, and 15. And you will leave for further discussion the matter that Councilmember Huizar just mentioned.
Excellent. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. All right, we have item number 4 before we go into our special meeting. And actually, we can close the regular meeting and open the special meeting and do item 1 there at the same time?
Yes, sure.
We can do those together?
Yes.
That's the pleasure of the chair.
Okay. Item number 4 is a motion by Council Members Huizar, Bonin, Harris, Dawson, relative to the temporary personal hygiene center demonstration project located on a city-owned property at 557-559 Crocker Street in Skid Row. And item number 1 on the special agenda is an HCD report relative to the reprogramming of unspent fiscal year 2016-2017 city general funds to fund rapid rehousing activities for single adults and crisis housing for families in Los Angeles County, Service Planning Area 6, and to implement the city's proposed personal hygiene center demonstration project in Skid Row.
All right, we have a presentation on these by both LASA and the CAO. Don't be shy. Come on up.
I'm not sure how we're starting. We do not have a coordinated approach here.
Personal Hygiene Center.
Personal Hygiene Center. We actually
General
have
Dogon is here. He can, no.
we actually have the provider for the center here that would like to talk about the service design.
Sure.
It's Homeless Healthcare.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we opened up already. We're up and running, which is great news, and we had a great opening on Monday, but we have some amenities that we love out of the area that we're really excited to be part of. Our partners Goodwill, the We Team Security, Social Model Recovery Systems, and that's it, right? We're up and running. I can't say any more. We saw how many today?
We saw 41 today and 56 yesterday, so we're really excited about that because we just officially launched it Monday. And then the other thing, just to add to what Mark is saying, it's really community driven. So the Skid Row Community Improvement Project has really had this vision, and we're really honored to be able to be a part of that and implementing this vision. But it really is considered an innovative site to not only help people meet their basic needs, but also we're using it as an outreach site to be able to offer other services as we get the program up and running.
So nothing like it throughout the U.S., so this is really exciting. I think you can really see that as an innovative site to reach people who wouldn't otherwise be reached. I think this is a great opportunity for us to bring a lot more services. But it's community-driven all the way, which is also a really great thing, I think, for the area.
Fantastic. If there's nothing further, we have some public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Susie Rios-Bellinot with the CAO's office. I have a clarifying amendment for item number 4. Try to bear with me, it's controller instructions.
He's got to bear with you.
So this is an amending motion to item number 4 containing controller instructions to effectuate the intent of the motion before you today. Item 1, authorize the controller to transfer appropriations of $1,345,969 from the following funds and accounts to the Housing and Community Investment Department. Fund number 10A, Department 43, account 43P296, Citywide Restrooms Hygiene, to fund the establishment and initial operation of this center as follows. Fund 10A, Department 43, account 43P633, Skid Row restroom cleanups, amount $420,000. Fund 10A, Department 43, account 43P483, safe parking and mobile showers, amount is $425,000. Fund 10A, Department 43, account 43N479, CES Crisis and Bridge, amount of $490,969. Fund 100, Department 56, account 000924, Hot Weather Program, $10,000 for a total of $1,345,000. Sorry, $1,345,969. Item 2, authorize and instruct the Housing and Community Investment Department to amend City Contract Number C-126258 with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Agency to A, reduce appropriations for Skid Row restroom cleanups, mobile showers, and CES Crisis and Bridge, totaling $1,335,969, And B, accept additional appropriations for the Skid Row Hygiene Center in an amount up to $1,264,599. Item 3, almost halfway there, guys. Item 3, transfer $47,000 from the HSID General Fund Program, Fund Number 10A, Department 43, Account Number 43P296, Citywide Restrooms Hygiene, to the following accounts for Department of Public Works, Bureau of Sanitation, for sewer connection and trash compactor installation and servicing. Fund 100, Department 82, Account 001010, Salaries General, in the amount of $10,000. Fund 100, Department 82, Account 003040, Contractual Services, in the amount of $10,000. Fund 100, Department 82, Account 006020, Operating Supplies, in the amount of $22,000. Fund 508, Department 50, Account RSRC 5301, Reimbursement from Other Funds, in the amount of $5,000 for a total of $47,000. Item 4, transfer $34,369.28 from the HSID General Fund Program Number 10A, Department 43, Account Number 43P296, Citywide Restrooms Hygiene, to the following accounts for the General Services Department for construction and establishment of the center. Fund 100, Department 40, Account 001014, Construction Salaries, in the amount of $15,252.63. Fund number 100, Department 40, Account 003180, Construction Materials, in the amount of $19,116.65, for a total of $34,369.28. And finally, item 5, authorize the city administrative officer to make technical corrections as necessary to the transactions included in this report to implement mayor and council intentions. Thank you.
I'd like to say you made that sound interesting, but
Are you sure there are no amendments, colleagues? We have public comment on this matter. Ms. Autry and Ms. Theodore.
Yes, there was some misunderstanding. I actually did request to speak on item 4. I appreciate Mr. Tom Good's attempt to intervene on my behalf in thinking that I was not aware, but I did want to speak. Would it be possible to be heard on that item as well, Councilman?
Well, I was going to call you up for general public comments, you and Mr. Eterna.
Okay.
So we'll call you up again, yes.
Okay, it's just...
But not at this moment.
Thank you.
Right now, you're on this item, so you got it.
Okay, so this is number 6.
Yes.
Okay. So again, we'd like to thank God first, of course, and Mayor Garcetti and the city. And I'd like to thank Elisa and Zita and all of those representatives that actually helped us to realize our vision, of course, and finally opening the Skid Row Refresh Spot. As a member of the Skid Row Improvement Coalition, I'd like to support General Dogon's recommendation. We need many of them. This is much too late, and it's just an inadequate amount. So again, on this record, we need many so that we can remove these people out of the swath of police brutality during this regentrification and the rezoning process.
Hi, my name is Andrea Theodore. I've been working on this project for 8 months with the Skid Row Community Improvement Coalition, and I think it's been very successful. We've been working hard as a consultant group of advocates and people with lived experience to design this hygiene center, and this can exist in other communities. We need to go forward. We not to be scared of the constituents, the fear of the neighborhoods. It takes the community coming together with the lived experience, with the nonprofits. The leadership has to come from the community engagement, and we can provide that as a consultant group. There are many groups that volunteer in Skid Row from all over LA County, Orange County. They want to help homeless people. There is an outreach group in every community that can work with you, so we need to move forward and not have fear of bringing these kinds of services to an average neighborhood. you know, it can be a laundry center, a hygiene center, a storage center. We can do it. There should be no fear or reluctance, and it's time to seize the opportunity and do it.
Thank you. All right, so we have an amended motion from the CAO's office. I move that we accept this motion.
Second.
Second. Mr. Karam, no objection. That'll be the order.
Hold on one second.
Oh, sorry, Mr.
I just wanted to add some comments and just wanted to thank the community again for making this a community-driven project, and it really had some great results. And also I want to thank you, Chair, for scheduling this as quickly as we could at the first opportunity of this these meetings. And certainly Lhasa and the mayor were very important to making this happen. The critical piece now as we move forward is to make sure that it succeeds.
Yes.
So there's a lot of eyes on this because not only do we want it to succeed for Skid Row, but possibly to use this as a model for other places in the city as we move to decentralized services from areas that have historically we've placed services. Now we want to make sure that all neighborhoods in the city have these types of services because, after all, homeless live in all parts of the city and not just where we concentrate them. But secondly, we also have to look out for next year's budget. This is something that will take us, I think, till June of next year, I believe. So we have to make sure that as these monies are being allocated today in council, when we approve it in council, that we look out and start talking about how we're going to continue funding this effort beyond that. And finally, an evaluation is going to be important. So hopefully we could get some data from people in charge and evaluate what works, what doesn't work, so that we could improve, and not only improve, but for other places that decide to move in this direction as well. But thank you very much. This is way long overdue, as many have stated, but I'm glad we're here and the monies are found. And our challenge is to find the monies for next year too. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Huizar, and thank you to all the activists and folks that helped get this project done. It's very, very inspiring. All power to the people, as our good friends at LA Can would say. So hearing no objection, that'll be the order. Yes, sir. That takes us to general public comment. We have Mr. Eterna and Ms. Autry. 1 minute each.
Hello. Maybe we need sour food, place to live. If they have not education, the problem is that they will break laws, everything again. So they will become angry again. Only when you work for something, you can appreciate that things. So my idea is to do a training. I need some place with resource for training that person emotional, because I live with them and they want to change. They want to train in mental, physical and emotional, and go with them in the street and to understand to them. For that, we have to share some cards with points that they can to take a lot of things, food, things, transportation, clothes, everything. But the point is only if they take that some education. So the point is, that's it.
Thank you. It was worth it.
May I have that additional minute for the housing, please?
No, this is your minute now.
Well, I wanted to say we need more affordable housing. I know you're rezoning. I know the plan for the row. We need affordable housing, not more condominiums and micro lofts. We need housing that with rent that is considered reasonable for low and very low income residents of downtown. There is no other refuge for low income individuals. We're not all going to San Marino Valley. We will not be displaced. This is illegal and it is a violation of civil rights. You're running this city as an aristocracy and an oligarchy and a plutocracy. This is democracy. Poor people, veterans, displaced, single abandoned women. We still need affordable housing, and you're denying us this opportunity. Do we have to come every week and expose this violation so that you will listen to us? Because you're listening to the real estate developers. That's it. Firstly, we need more security for homeless women, especially homeless black women.
Thank you so much, Ms. Autry, and thank you to the CLA, the clerk, the city attorney's office, the members of this committee, and the attendees. We are adjourned.